everybody, it's Romania Black, and remember how it took me that long to figure out that guy was X? I went back in episode 21, and I literally, my shipper goggles blinded me to the plot. But here we are. I'm gonna also say, look, X in episode 20 at the end had his hair slicked back. They were a completely different type of glasses. Is it bad that I didn't see the connection at first? Sure. Anyway, I couldn't wait. We're on episode 22 of To Be Hero X, and I literally, I watched episode 21 right before it came out on Patreon because I was just down to the wire. And then as soon as it came out, the mods were like, hey, there's some more comments you could check. And I was like, ready to go. So, with that being said, we need to check some comments before we dive into episode 22. It is scorching hot outside. I am sweating buckets. I have water. We are getting hydrated. I feel like we're going to need to be today. I feel like we're going to need to be hydrated for the rest of the series, to be quite honest. But all right, we've got some comments from episode 19 on YouTube and episode 20 on Patreon that I want to get to today before we dive into this. But first, R-Star6709 for episode 19 says, when it comes to fandom reception of Esol, it's very polarizing. On YouTube and Reddit, I came across a lot of people calling him a fraud, and honestly, his morality was the thing that people commented on the most. On Tumblr, of course on Tumblr, there's a lot more nuance, and nowadays things have quieted down, and so the people who still post naturally are going to be more fond. You know, yeah, I feel like time softens a little bit sometimes your views of things. Personally, I have him kind of in the middle bottom if I were to make a list. I used to have him down lower, but one specific fanfic writer wrote some incredible stuff with Esol, and so I was swayed a bit. You know what? Them fanfic writers, they'll make you latch onto a character. They'll make you do it. I'm not going to be persuaded by their salesman tactics, though. I'm going by the hardcore evidence on the screen to make my judgments, but I don't blame you. I have had characters that I've read fanfic, and they have swayed me as well, so... John Smith HN2VU for episode 19 says that line about having fewer rivals is what instantly got me certain that Yang Chang has devolved completely and is a slave to rock. Because when also asked to attack someone to boost his trust value, what did the OG or true Esol say? Quote, I didn't become a hero for the ranking. That's a callback. Something happened to Yang Chang, or did he really just give up on life Darth Vader style to serve as Dark Master? I'm not sure which is worse, to be honest. Here's the thing. What happened is he merged with Esol, and his was the dominant personality, it seems. But he literally, I think that's my thing. He's basically Donghua Darth Vader, but, you know, I wish that there was more to him. I wish we could see more to his character other than him just being obsessed with the rankings. I honestly, one of my biggest regrets in this series is that we don't go back to OG Esol and see, like, his story. Like, I was like, I would pay a lot of money to go back and see OG Esol and, like, his whole deal and what he looked like. Like, the mystery's great. I'm not mad at the mystery, but it's just like, you're left wanting more, you know? Amp Lee 4699 for episode 19 says the reason why so many fathers are in To Be Hero X is because Lee Hao Lin, the director himself, is a father. He's talked in the past about his daughter, whom he couldn't spend a lot of time with due to how busy he usually is with work. And there's a lot of projection there, I'd say. Yeah. Which kind of makes more sense because a lot of this series is about fathers and sons and fathers and daughters. So yeah, that makes sense. He's a father himself. So he is projecting a lot of his insecurities and woes and loves and everything onto these characters. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Ridasante for episode 20 says, my headcanon is that Rock and Zach are petty exes, while Mickey and Liu are friends with benefits lovers who are now only friends and colleagues. I call them the four pathetic divorced men, and among all this stands Shang, who is just a pathetic straight man who's completely clueless about all the gay history between the other four. Yeah, okay, here's my thing. I feel like Mickey and Liu, in my headcanon, they have been lovers, friends with benefits in the past. Whether they are or not anymore, we're not sure, but there is that history there. I feel like Zach is pretty fluid, and Zach's just like up for whatever. I feel like Rock, to me, Rock is like trying to play a straight man, but he's really not. He just is trying to convince himself that he's straight, but we all know better. And then no, Mr. Shang is 100% a heterosexual man that has no clue about this gay nonsense. Nor does he want to participate, to be quite frank. His loss. So, oh my God, love that comment. Ale, for episode 20, and be happy for this first part here, said the fear that made Nice's perfect image is probably referring to his fights with villains that Shang has infected with fear, rather than something Nice has been doping with. That's my interpretation, at least. Yeah, be happy the moderator agreed with that as well. Then Ale says, the reason why Zach and Mickey meet is because little Johnny is going to work with DOS and leave FOMO. I could see that if that's the interpretation, sure. I told the mods, I was like, I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, because if we find out that he went to FOMO, if he went to DOS later, then yeah, it would be a spoiler. So y'all just be careful on those kind of things, because I'm almost to the end. No spoilers. I'm so close to catching up. It's also funny to hear Rock say that only children live in the past, when he has a shrine of a person he used to deify as a 9-year-old. Ooh! Calling him out! Get the burn squad on! Yes, but highly true. With small screen computer for episode 20 says, it wasn't made clear with the scene with Mickey and Zach in the epilogue montage, but the scene is suggesting, again, that little Johnny was getting transferred to DOS from FOMO, likely upon his own request, as little Johnny made the decision to train with Cyan and Queen after things were settled near the ruin, and I feel like he probably was looking to shake off the image of a mascot at a different company to get stronger. That is a good reasoning as to why that scene could be interpreted that way, because he did tell Lucky, Cyan, and Queen he wanted to train with them, and he has had some kind of disgruntlement with Zach about treating him as a mascot, so sure. And who is Mickey to say no when obviously that makes little Johnny and big Johnny closer to him, and he's got all the fear stuff going on in the background? I'm not sure I like that. I'm not sure I like what that's going. And then with small screen computer said, the part about how the ruins incident remains silent is all speculation. This part is all speculation. I think Lo Lee has lost trust in the other heroes in the commission, and she decided to join FOMO to be part of the hero circle because FOMO has the least yield at the ruins. I could see that where FOMO was the least involved, so she wanted to get involved with the commission, but she wanted to do it with the one CEO group that was the least connected, and that's the one. The sad thing is, if little Johnny is leaving FOMO to go to DOS, she doesn't have anybody she's with anymore, because who else is she with FOMO? They're all gone. So that's sad. And then Be Happy for episode 20 said, the guy that gave Cyan the coin had black hair. And the guy at the comic book stand in episode 20 also had black hair, so... I have so many questions. My thing is, like, the guy who could be X looks so burnt out, and, like, but it's like, why'd you do this to begin with? Why did you start this whole thing? Why did you take, like, is your persona something you can't control? But, like, how did it come to be? Because it seems like it was just there. It wasn't, like, created by a population, so with trust value, so it literally feels like Urkel from Family Matters who becomes Stefan, and it also feels like Clark Kent with the glasses becoming Superman, just Superman has the glasses, but I don't know what to do with this. So I need an explanation from X. I need to know what his backstory is, and maybe by the end of the season we will get that. So please do not spoil me. I'm watching ahead with episode 22 because I know people in the comments will try to be like, this is what's happening. And I'm like, I am a blind reactor, and I've said I don't want to be explained things. I'm so sorry. Be Happy. Your moderation is probably going to be really hard for episodes 21 in my discussion. I'm going to pay closer attention. I'm going to take the shipper goggles off until the discussion. So I've decided that because I missed a very crucial part during the reaction, I'm going to put my shipper goggles aside. I'm going to take them off. I'm going to leave them on because I do want to wear them while I watch the reaction. But I am going to turn them off while I'm watching the reaction. And any shipping thoughts that I have, I'm going to save them for the discussion where I can gush there. And maybe I won't miss plot crucial elements. Anyway, I've talked for nearly 10 minutes, but thank you all so much for the comments and the kind words. I am so ready to dive into this episode, so let's get into it. All right, y'all ready for this? We're going to start episode 22 of To Be Hero X. And we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. Well, there's no questioning who's X now. Oh my God. Oh. You know, we have 2 episodes left, and at this point, we are tying so much together, like everything with Nice is all coming together and getting wrapped up. My big thing is I want all the X backstory. I want X and Zero backstory. I have theories, as you all know I do. We're going to talk about this episode. I have some theories, and we're going to scoot Whiteboard Coon just a wee bit closer so we can talk about them. R.I.P. Smile. R.I.P. Smile. I'm so sad. Because I really liked Smile. He deserved better. We needed to see his daughter. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I still don't know. So I guess we have 2 episodes left of this season. And I guess we should put on here questions. Questions are important. We're going to put questions over here. Questions and / theories. We will get those suckers on the board here. As of this point, we've found out a couple of things. One thing is very certain, and that is Nice's suicide. All makes sense now. The fact that despite Nice being perfect, despite Nice's OCD, him breaking down because he is responsible for the death of his hero is directly responsible. We're going to talk about it. He's responsible. There's really no other way of putting it. And it's not intentional. Well, it's not intentional, but at the same time, we need to talk about it. But yeah, so basically, not only the pressure of perfection, because that's literally what has been thrust upon him. Not only this idea that he is being puppeted by everyone else other than himself. He has no autonomy. He has no right to anything he does. He's being controlled not only by Mr. Shang, but also by everyone else that gives him the trust value. Not only is he a puppet, he has this pressure to be perfect, and his whole thing is about rankings. And then there's also this idea about the fact that he can't be near Rec, which again, I feel like X and Nice would have a few factors in common, but X is like aura farming to hell. And he's just like, X is like, I'm my own person. If you notice, X is not tied to any CEO, and that's probably for a reason, and that's why he's happy. So, or maybe happy. He doesn't seem quite happy because he's still involved with the heroes. X isn't happy if we've judged by his conversation last episode, but at least he's not being controlled by anybody. He's his own person who also has the abilities of Cool World. So we're going to talk about that, but I was like, Ralph Bakshi, did you help construct X's abilities? Okay, we're going to talk about that. What the fudge? But also, so yeah, the idea of any relationships that he has and his future is entirely be controlled by someone else. But not only that, like the whole thing with Smile, the Smile incident, completely led to his depression. And ultimately him deciding to take his own life. The thing that I'm curious about with Nice is that happened a year before Nice decided to take his own life. So one of the questions that we have is why the year before Nice died? Is it because, like, did Mr. Shang tell him to do something for the hero rankings, being like, you're going to fight this person, you're going to do that, and Nice was just like, I'm out? Like, you know, was it that? We don't know. So there is the question of Nice's death. We need to wrap that up. We need to know why that happened. So that needs to become a thing. We need to get into that. So we'll maybe find that out, possibly. We'll see. We'll see about that. But also, we're going to talk about X and Zero. We're going to talk about X and Zero. And we're going to probably talk about them over here, where you all can see it a little bit better. But yeah. So we got that to talk about. Rock and Shang, if we're ranking CEOs, why do we have to make them separate? No. I think that they're pretty similar. think they're pretty bad. Pick your poison. Which apples and oranges? It's basically apples and dragon fruit. Which is worse? Shang or Rock? I don't know. They're both pretty terrible. And at this point, Mickey's not as bad. Isn't that crazy? Shang and Rock are so terrible that they make Mickey look halfway decent. And you're like, what? Mickey's a slime ball. Like, are you kidding? And Zach is just like, what up? So, oh my God, we need to talk about this episode. This is a very straightforward episode in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways I was like, okay, I have things that I want to theorize about. I'm glad that we finally have seen X in the flesh doing his abilities, bending time and space itself, which we will talk about a little bit further into this episode. But okay, I want to say, I talked about Dragon Boy last week. Remember how I was like, oh, he's kind of pretentious. And I was like, you all will say he has a horrific backstory. The reality is, yes, he does. And it sucks a lot. I feel a lot for Dragon Boy, mainly because Rock is off his rocker. Rock is actually crazy. And we need to talk about this. So, I mean, you think of an evil villain, you think of an evil villain, we'll put Rock over here. And this idea that Rock has this shrine to Zero. It's totally normal that this guy who has all this money has a shrine to like a deity that he worshipped when he was 9 years old. It's totally normal. Everybody does it. And then you have Shang over here, Mr. Shang, with an A, not an E. That's Hot Shang. Mr. Shang, he would be hot if he wasn't so evil. Usually it's like, if evil, why so hot? But with Mr. Shang, it's like, but could you be a little less evil? So you could be a little more hot, And sleep, maybe. That would help too. His whole thing is like this obsession. His obsession with revenge. Things that normal people do. All that jazz. So yeah, Rock takes Dragon Boy down to the shrine. And Dragon Boy is just like, okay, I mean, this seems totally normal. He's like, you're young, but there's some things that you are probably learned about. I think that it's important to note the context of this. At this point, he's taken Dragon Boy in. He's gotten the signature mohawk that he has in the current timeline, which, for the record, the mohawk adds to the dragon look. I freaking love the mohawk. When he looks like Impish, the Pokemon, when he's got like, it's so funny. We basically had a Pokemon battle between what's the imp Pokemon line? I want to get this right. It's from one of the newer ones. Impidimp. Impidimp is one. What's the middle one? I want to get it right. It's like the evolution. Oh, what is he called? I want to get this right. But yeah, it's the Impidimp, his evolution, like the final one. Anyway, that's kind of what he looks like from Sword and Shield. But yeah, we basically had a Pokemon battle between him and Nice, aka Pikachu. So I guess that would be Isol. Regardless, he takes him down there and saying the founding of the commission began this new era, and it was because of Downfall. So I feel like Downfall is like a Bond villain. It's like a Bond movie, like Skyfall. So this whole thing. I also want to know how X and Zero are tied to Downfall, because I feel like they are tied together somehow. I feel like X and Zero are connected, but I don't know how or why. Here's my theory. My theory is that, theory time, TT time, it's a T with Romania. My theory is that X is an alien. Those powers were not created by the public. I'm sorry, but they weren't. There's no way. I think that X is an alien. I think he's possibly like a Clark Kent situation. He even has like the glasses and the black hair and he looks so mild-mannered. I feel like he's based. Does that make Smile like Eddie Brock? No, that's Spider-Man. Who was the guy? Not James Jameson. Who was the guy with Lois? Like the one reporter that was with her in Superman. Y'all will tell me in the comments down below. That was what I'm thinking of Smile was. But anyway, I think that X is like a Clark Kent situation where he came from another planet with these powers, and maybe an X was taken in, we don't know by who, and he was raised with these powers. Maybe he's connected to Zero that way. Maybe Zero took him in. I don't know. Maybe Zero's his dad. I don't know. Maybe X is half human, half alien, and maybe Zero was the alien. We don't know. We don't know at this point. It could be, So I think X is an alien, or at least part alien. And that's why he's not affected by the trust or fear values, because he's immune to them, because he's from the actual planet that those powers are inherently from. Theoretically, we don't know. I hope we find out before the end of this season a little bit more about Zero and a little bit more about X. I do think the eye is rather important. Also, the show is really clever because they give us the montage of like the nice like figure, but at the same time, they don't give us any like distinct characteristics, so you can't quite tell what he looks like, and it's like, okay. Also, I think it's fascinating that you have the little statues of the people. It simultaneously looks like they're worshiping, but also like they're trying to like aim things at him, which is kind of like, it's a very symbolic gesture of the fickle nature of humanity. One minute they'll be worshiping you, and the next minute they'll be sharpening the pitchforks ready to attack you. That's just how easy it is to sway the hearts of men. And so in Dragon Boy gets it. He's like, the battle took all the heroes banding together to defeat that monster. And Rock is very quick to say that Zero wasn't a monster, because the reason why is that Rock wants to create, essentially wants to create a god. He wants to create a god, to create a savior. And so he needs Dragon Boy to understand that, no, Zero wasn't a monster. He was a god. People just didn't understand. He was misunderstood. He shouldered everything that he shouldn't have had to have shouldered. Like, Rock has the utmost respect for Zero. The people need a savior. So he's like, he wants to create a god/savior for people. He wants to be the creator of that. Meanwhile, you have Shang, who is trying to nurture Dragon Boy. He wants Dragon Boy to be that god or savior. Meanwhile, Shang wants Nice to be the god, because then he can be powerful enough to extract revenge. That's how he sees it. It's kind of a little bit different than Rock. Like, Shang is seeing using a god for revenge, and Rock is seeing a god as like ascension, as like power. He's like, people need a savior. I think it's interesting. You have this kind of the trust values. So you see the thing of the people giving their trust, and you see the numbers, and it would be cool if these numbers were like pi, if they were like the 3.14 and all the numbers that go on infinitely. It's interesting that the outfit that they're wearing, there's like this little sun motif. So I'm going to draw that sun motif. It looks like this, which is this kind of like what's on Big Johnny. Is that right? Seems kind of similar to what's on Big Johnny. Maybe, perhaps, mayhaps, a little bit. It's like a sun. The people need a savior. He became that savior and gave people hope and faith. I want to point out a couple of things. So there is this image of him like rising up, and the ball of like squiggly powers here looks kind of like, when they're holding this like in his hand, it kind of looks like the ability of X, where he like crumples things up and literally bends reality to his will. It kind of looks like that, which makes me think that they're related. So, interesting. He gave people hope, but people's hearts always have hidden corners. I actually really like that line. Of all the things Rock has said, I think that's kind of poignant and poetic. Like, people have hidden corners to their hearts with like darkness hidden away. I like that. At this point, just like how darkness always exists behind the light, like Rock's trying to be a poet over here. Dragon Boy's like, so you built this whole shrine? He's like seeing the madness on display. Envy, suspicion, and fear. So here we have Zero facing, it looks like Zero has this thing in the center of him that looks like it might have been corrupted Maybe it looks like it's got some splat on it, like it might have been corrupted. And we see this one figure who has this head that looks like it has some flames coming across it. So I'm like, which hero was this? Was Miss Blazing corrupted? Like, what, Mr. Matchstick? Like, how'd they get the fear involved? Because that seems like we've seen those kind of tentacle, like, aura coming off of someone imbued with fear. So is it suggesting that the hero that Zero killed was someone imbued with fear, and he had to kill him because it was like a self-preservation thing? I don't know. But then we have this scene, and I want to talk about it. Those things were wrapped up in praise and songs and given to Zero. This scene right here, where on the middle of Zero's, like, in the middle of Zero's suit, there is this eye. There is this eyeball. And then there's, like, these tears coming down from it. Doesn't exactly look like that anymore. It looks a little bit different. But does that not look like the scene where Lin Ling was carrying Moon down to see the people? Does that not look exactly like that scene that we saw back in episode 3? Am I taking crazy pills? It looks exactly like it. So I'm like, was this person embedded with fear? Was it someone that Zero liked, that they were in love with, and then they had to kill? Did the hero that Zero had to kill, was it someone they liked? I don't know. I'm going to need answers. It's a shame that he wasn't able to endure such pain that those things bring. So here's Rock's whole thing. Rock's whole thing is that he believes that he's like, oh, Zero's flaw was that he wasn't immune to the power of fear. If I just get somebody strong enough to not be able to be affected by fear, I got this. And I'm like, I feel like you're missing the forest for the trees, Rock. Just a little bit, maybe, possibly. But his whole thing is that he wants somebody that is immune to fear. Which is kind of what Shang wants as well, because Nice doesn't get affected by the fear. So he kind of wants the same thing in a way. I almost wonder if Mr. Shang having Nice fight all of the villains with fear embedded in them, I wonder if that's been like exposure therapy to get it to where Nice wouldn't be as affected by it. I don't know. But yeah, he's like, I think he wants to be immune to fear. And who does he find that is quite immune to fear? Dragon Boy. Dragon Boy has the special ability to take pain, to take any amount of pain and dish it out twice as hard back. He basically rebounds any pain that he gets and dishes it back, which is a very handy ability if you're working for Rock. So yeah, he became a god for a time, but he wasn't perfect and he fell from grace. And so, yeah, I mean, Mr. Shang, I think, knows that Zero wasn't perfect as well, and so he's trying to make Nice into this god, and he wants Nice to be perfect. So he's like, it's like he and Rock are trying to create this godlike figure through two different means. Rock is trying to do it by creating someone that's immune to fear, because then that way they won't be stopped by it and they can continue to get stronger. Shang wants somebody to be perfect, because if they're perfect, well, then they won't be bothered by fear either. So they're going about it in similar but different ways. Both messed up and wrong. At least I feel at this point, like, you know, Mickey's just being an opportunist and trying to make money. He doesn't really care about this whole, like, he's using fear because it's the most, like, trendy new thing on the market and it's going to give him the most profit, but otherwise he doesn't care. And then Zach is just like, whatever is going to get me the most social status. So in comparison to Rock and Shang, they're dandy. But okay, look. Both Shang and Rock are on my shit list for two different entire reasons. We'll get to Shang, but I'm sorry. This moment right here, like Dragon Boy looks so done. He's just already done and it's not even started. This part here, bad touch. No. Bad Rock. No. Get your hands off this probably underage boy. We need you to back away right now. Leave. Get out right now. He's like, before preparing to ascend to godhood. No, ew, hate that. Hate every moment of that. He's like, experiencing pain is a necessary trial. I absolutely hate that moment. I hate everything about that moment. I love that shot. That shot is actually really good. And I'm going to take a screenshot of it real quick. But I hate everything about him touching him. Stop it. No. Like Rock is a predator. And nope. And I would argue, I don't say this lightly, but I feel like there is a difference between Shang. Like Mr. Shang is an emotional manipulator, and he's emotionally and verbally abusive as well as physically abusive. Rock is kind of, I don't want to use the G word. I don't want to say he's a groomer, but he kind of is. He kind of is. He's showing it in this, and that's just as bad, if not worse. I'm like, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it for Dragon Boy, because as we find out, Dragon Boy's whole thing is this trauma of being considered trash and unworthy of love. And I'm like, I just want to hug Dragon Boy and be like, no, you are Knuff. Just stay away from these horrible people. Yeah, no, I absolutely hate all of this. Rock, stop it. Nope, stop. That transition, I'm like, it is implied. It is implied. Ugh. I don't want to think that anything happened down there in that shrine with Rock and Dragon Boy. I don't want to think that anything happened, but it could have. And that's disturbing and wrong. And that's why he's pretty much at the bottom. Like, Shang's not far behind him. Shang's not far behind him, but Rock is like at my bottom. He is the worst. Nope. And that transition to like him fighting against Smile, beautiful transition, horrifying scene. No. And he's like, I chose you. Yeah, he chose Dragon Boy because he knew Dragon Boy could not only take the pain that Smile would dish out to him, but also in addition, Dragon Boy could also handle the fear that Nice was going to inject him in. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the strongest man in the world currently. I want to talk to y'all because I freaking love X. I am so mad that we've only got to see him in the flesh. Like, we saw 0.0003% scenes of him up until episode 21. And then we see him in his Clark Kent form, and he's adorkable. And now we see him as an aura farming badass. And when he's like, gets up drunk because he's like hungover, and he's like, he gets up saying, what's going on? I think because he can't handle alcohol, and he's like, what the fudge? And he goes to throw up. He like hits the door frame. So adorkable. Also, I'm just saying that bed could fit two. R.I.P. to X's only friend. R.I.P. Here's my worry. We're gonna get to Rock at the end of all this. Just wait. But I think that if Rock connects that Smile and him knew each other, then they're going to trace back and try to find surveillance to see that Smile has been visiting X and figure out where he's located at. Because I didn't talk about this last week, but X usually stays, you would think the top hero would stay in the hero tower. He doesn't, because he doesn't want anybody to know where he is. So they don't know where X has been. He's been in one of these apartments the entire time. So now they're going to probably try to trace him to find where he is. I mean, he can teleport, so not that that matters. But anyway, I hate it. I hate it here. And I hate that Nice just is so done. He just absolutely is done. Is his symbol on the, like, is the symbol that he has in the middle of his, like, armor there, is that different than it normally is? Is it always like that? I feel like it was different at one point, but it's probably not. But yeah, and then Dragon Boy, he's figured it out. He's like, come on, Nice is not here to help you. He's here to steal your ranking. After that huge blow from the Ruins incident. And then we get this scene. Okay, so we're going to talk about Shang real quick. Shang's on my shit list. I officially do not like him at all. I held out some grace, but the moment he's like, wait for their conflict to play out and inject fear into the winning party. So what's interesting about this is, I guess both Mr. Shang and Nice were I'm assuming they knew what Dragon Boy's powers were, which were to take damage and inflict it back twofold. I'm assuming that they thought that ability would not work with fear, and that fear would override that ability regardless. Because he didn't say, Mr. Shang did not say inject Smile with the fear. He said whoever won. He's like, let them fight and duke it out. Hide behind the tree. Let them duke it out. And then whoever wins, you stab them with the fear while they're weakened. And then we'll go from there. And then he's like, at that point, one party will be down for the count. The next party will be injected with fear. And that will allow you to take at least one of their... Well, I mean, Dragon Boy, that's interesting. I think Mr. Shang might have been under the assumption that Smile would win. I think that, okay, if we're looking at this from a manipulation standpoint, him asking Nice to stab Dragon Boy with the fear would make no sense because Dragon Boy's not in the top 10. So for Shang, he's like, that means nothing to me. So why would he say the winning party? Well, we could think of it as this. He knew that Nice maybe looks up to Smile and he doesn't want to just outright tell him to, stab Smile with the fear. So he's like, whoever wins. Whoever wins, you do that. So maybe he was thinking it would kill two birds with one stone, whereas if Dragon Boy was starting to take the lead, Nice would take him out and then inject Smile with the stuff, and so he could get two birds with one stone. I don't know. Or maybe he was worried that Nice would back off if he outright said stab Smile. Regardless, the moment you stab a puppy, you are on the shit list for life, sir. Those animals don't deserve that. You don't treat animals that way, bitch. The moment he did that to the dog, I was like, my sympathy for Mr. Shang went whew, out the window. Out the window we go. Nope, 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 nope. I was like, that's terrifying. No, that is absolutely terrifying. Especially because we literally see what it's going to do to Smile. Let him become the stepping stone in your progression. I cannot believe that. That makes me so mad. That makes me so mad. I'm like, no. That makes me so mad. Because Nice, that is his worst nightmare. Like, the idea of stepping over his hero just for a ranking is just, oh my God. Like, this is the face of a man that you know why he's going to spiral after this. Yeah, and why are you just standing there, Nice? And in this moment, Nice is just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to do this. But he's being told by Shang, he's like, kill him and I'll give you a chance to enter the top 10. I don't believe you'd do such a thing. Yeah. Do you remember what the most important thing about being a hero is? It's belief. And this little moment here where he like runs to him and he's like in the sunlight. He's like, even as the object of people's worship, even if a belief is just a simple smile. That's such a good little scene there. Yep. There's a moment where he's like in the light with Smile, and then a few moments later he's going to be in the darkness with Shang, and it's such a perfect visual for that moment. Even if it's a simple smile, it's the biggest source of power for me to keep going. I wonder if that's relating to when Nice looked over to Lin Ling and was like, now it's your turn. You keep going. Bye. I don't know. He's like, I don't need a cheap smile. Oh, like, yeah, he goes from being in the sunlight with Smile to being in the darkness with Mr. Shang. And then the whole thing about the puppetry, I mean, at first I was like, okay, Smile being controlled by Shang as a puppet, we've seen that. Like, that's a pretty obvious symbolism. The ballet and the dancing is really interesting because the dancing is like perfection and pirouetting, and ballet is about, preciseness and all that. But the part that got me, he's like, your perfect persona was an illusion I created using fear. When all the people become the puppeteers, that was really cool because everyone is dictating what he does and he has like no control over who he is. And when he actually like becomes this doll that starts getting ripped apart, there is some really gruesome imagery in this episode. Like this one shot here as he's getting ripped apart as a doll, that's terrifying. What? No, thank you. Nope. And so then Smile's like, what is wrong with you all? Why are you all acting like you're possessed? Well, they've definitely become possessed by their CEOs that they're fighting for. So here's my thing. Nice had 3 options here. He had 3 options. He could have stabbed Smile, which ends up in the result of that ends up happening anyway. He could stab Dragon Boy, which he does choose to do. I mean, he's not going to stab himself. He didn't have to do either of those things. He could have thrown away the fear. And did none of those things, and he could have helped Smile. But he didn't, because he's been so psychologically manipulated by Shang. The crazy thing is, like, Shang is not a hero. That is what blows my mind about each and every one of these CEOs. They are the ones who don't have any power. Like, back when I thought that Mr. Shang was X, I thought, okay, well, maybe Shang is fearsome because he has the power of X, and that's what makes him intimidating. No! He has technology, and he has money, and he has willpower, and his hatred is, like, unmatched. But he's not a superhero. Mickey ain't no damn superhero! Unless he has some kind of magical genitalia that Liu is attracted to. I don't know. I had to get my Mickey in. I had to get my Mickey joke in this episode. My quota wasn't met. But, like, he doesn't have any special powers. He's like a slime bag. Zack doesn't have any special powers. It is mind-blowing that these heroes who have all of the authority and all the power, you know, with the exception of what the public controls through their belief in them, by all means, they should be able to walk away from these CEOs and do whatever they want, you know, and talk to the people and do whatever they want. They should be able to do that. But these CEOs have convinced them that they need them to the point where they do stupid shit like this because they're so manipulated and brainwashed into thinking that they need them. And if that's not a mirror to reality, I know, like, series like Alien Stage, which is like a Korean animation, like that one draws into like the K-pop idol world and like the abuse of those people, and it's a clearer representation of that. I feel like this is kind of tied to it with celebrities and actors and actresses of being controlled. I feel like it's the same thing. But yeah, it's so wild because it's like he could just walk away from Shang, and what's Shang gonna do? You know, I guess Shang has the ability to manipulate social media, but at the same time, like, go with Zack. He'd get you back in track. And he ends up stabbing Dragon Boy and thinks that he's made the right decision. And Dragon Boy's like, what the F? What did you inject me with? And now the thing is, Dragon Boy, like, eats it all up and then spits it all, like, he spits that big blob of fear back out of him. Not only that, he uses it to his advantage later. And Smile steps in front of Nice to keep him from getting hit. Like, it just hits his boots and part of his, like, robe. But then where his skin would have gotten hit, and Smile took the whole brunt of it. And I'm sorry, but this part here where it, like, takes over his face, like, this part here where his face literally becomes, that is body horror! Like, he becomes a Demogorgon head! That is terrifying! No! And it, like, bubbles up through his ears and his mouth and, like, encapsulates his head like a helmet. No! That is, there's some body horror in this. Yeah, and then he becomes like DJ Shindig. That's so sad. And then it's like a projection of his insecurities, because he says, who laughed at me just now? Like the smile and the laughter, but he views it as people making fun of him and viewing it negatively. And his fear of being mocked. That is crazy. I mean, okay, I don't think we need to talk at all about the fight choreography, because the fight choreography in this entire episode between Smile and Nice and Dragon Boy was just fantastic. And then X shows up and he's like, what choreography? I'm a cartoon, bitch. Like, he just shows up and is like, done. The snap is so satisfying. The snap is so, like, I can snap sometimes, like, do that. Snapping is a satisfying movement. Sometimes it doesn't work. My bones don't do that. So satisfying. I love it. It's just, it's good. The snap and the coin flip. Yes, ma'am. So, anyway, I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. So, with the fight underwater with Dragon Boy being attacked by Smile, and then everybody's like, well, what's Dragon Boy doing? And why is Nice? So the Smile incident hurting Nice's reputation now makes a lot of sense, because not only did it completely destroy Nice's psyche entirely, but the population at large thought that it was weird that Nice wasn't helping Dragon Boy when there was a threat going on, that Nice ended up attacking Dragon Boy when the audience doesn't see why he would deserve it, but we know better, and then that he was kind of distraught and all over the place. Like, there's a lot of reasons why that would have damaged Nice's reputation, and why it was a big PR nightmare that Miss J, and here's the other thing too, Miss J, I don't believe knows what's going on. I think Miss J is in the dark as to what Mr. Shang and Nice have been doing this entire time. She has no clue. So, like, for her, she just views this as bad PR, but she doesn't get under the surface what's been going on to lead to this point. And it's kind of terrifying. But yeah, he's like, stop laughing at me. So then we get this scene where Dragon Boy gets stuck under the ice. And we see these two people that are above watching him from down below, which, this is horrifying. Like, absolutely horrifying. My thing is, we don't know the two people that are standing here saying, look, I told you he could do it. Like, we don't know, are these supposed to be his parents? Are these supposed to be his siblings? Are they friends? Would-be friends? Like, are they just bystanders who trapped him under the ice? Like, I want to know Dragon Boy's backstory in terms of who these people are. So I guess a question is, Dragon Boy's past with them. They're both wearing the same coat. So are they with like a research team? Are they with, Mr. Shang and them? Are they with a company like experimenting on the heroes? Like, how's that work? I wish we knew more, but I feel bad for Dragon Boy, because he's literally, they're like, you can do it. I know you can. That in itself is like emblematic of the hero mentality. The phrase like, you can do it. I know you can. Do you? Are you that person? Do you know if they can do that? Are you sure? Like, to have that faith in them? But what if they can't? And then we kind of see that where he's struggling, he can't get out. And then they're like, oh, I'm disappointed in you. And they just walk away. She looks shorter. I don't know if they're just people that are his age or what. And then there's this disappointment. I think Rock's problem and Rock's biggest mistake in picking Dragon Boy is that he has picked someone to be his would-be god who physically cannot be harmed. Not really. He's kind of got a pretty durable body, and any harm that's dealt to him, he can deal it back. So he's pretty impervious to pain physically. But Rock's problem is, I don't think Rock knows this side of Dragon Boy, this trauma. So in choosing, Dragon Boy to be his god, he's choosing someone with a lot of emotional baggage. And someone who has a real chip on his shoulder for not being, depended upon, and for being labeled a disappointment. And by the end of this episode, we kind of got a taste of that when X showed up. And immediately everybody was like, oh my god, X series so handsome and powerful. And everybody immediately forgot about Dragon Boy. It was kind of the same thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good, but that you picked him, Rock, but this kid's got a lot of issues. And when they call him useless trash, that is why he projects now on everyone else, calling them trash. He's projecting this label that's been put upon him. And he's like, I'm not trash, you're trash, and I'm going to take care of you. And it's sort of projected that way. But yeah, I do love the concept of when he smacks through the glass, that's when he, utilizes the fear to become this, dragon imp. It's a badass look. The ears transforming, and all of that. He looks like a dark elf. He looks like a dark elf. I don't know if this is part of his original power or if it's the fear imbuing in him, but it's pretty badass. I like the elf. I like the dark elf look that he has here. Also, this moment where he smashes into Smile is him smashing through the glass. Yeah, I don't know if you all noticed, but whenever he did that, he smacked him away. But in that moment, there was like fear and probably some organs that flew out. And then poor Nice. Yep. I feel so much for OG Nice. Like, after this, I feel real bad for him. That was also a great transition of going from, like, the ice to this moment. And then, honestly, like, Nice is pissed. That face, Nice is pissed. Because, like, this is kind of all his fault. It really is. So then, yeah, he tries to fight back against Dragon Boy. Not a great matchup for Nice because Dragon Boy, you know, can just take whatever he deals and deals it back. So not the greatest of matchups here. I do want to note something that I noticed in this is that not only with Smile once he was infected with the fear, but Dragon Boy, you have this black and white motif. It goes back to Rick versus Nice. So Nice is always up against these people that like match him up perfectly. Is that part of by design? Who knows? But anyway, so they keep fighting. And some people are like, well, they're only supporting Nice because he's a pretty boy. Well, pretty privilege does exist. So... And that's the thing too. Like, I tried to note that in the reaction. Do I think that Dragon Boy do I think that he's like an uggo? No, of course not. I think he has some attractiveness to him, but when he's like in this form and stuff, he's kind of scary. And you want somebody that is commercially marketable to be your hero. And Dragon Boy is a little too niche for like the mainstream audiences, like the little kids. Like with Nice, you can make a cute little plushie of Nice, and you can have an action figure of Nice. With Dragon Boy, sure, you could make a cute kawaii plush of him, I suppose. But I feel like Dragon Boy's aesthetic is not as universally marketable as Nice's is. So even if he's able to withstand fear and be impervious to pain, is he likely to be chosen by everybody through a generic audience rather than Nice? I would have my doubts, honestly. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, just like with Smile, our boy Dragon Boy is about to take his dragon flaming fist and make Nice disappear. Now, he yells disappear, which is exactly the same command that Vortex yelled. And I was like... So I'm going to put on here this word disappear, this command. Is this connecting Dragon Boy to Vortex? Probably not. Probably not. It's probably a translation thing, but I still think it's interesting. So then X uses his abilities and just like teleports. He teleports Nice to where he is at. Also, can we talk about the reality that X's whole deal is bending the laws of time and space, and that's what's been causing the art style to change. That's what's been causing all of this. Like, okay, if you don't know who Ralph Bakshi is, you should look up Ralph Bakshi. He is a American filmmaker, artist, everything. He did like a Lord of the Rings film from the 70s. His art style is he has lots of different styles of artwork, but it's very distinct. Like, you'll recognize it when you see it. He's very controversial. He's maybe crazy. Nostalgia Critic did a reaction and review of Cool World several years ago. Which, if you don't know what Cool World is, do you know what Who Framed Roger Rabbit is? Okay, if you don't know what Who Framed Roger Rabbit is, that's where you need to start. Look that up. Cool World was riding off the popularity of Who Framed Roger Rabbit and was trying to blend animation with real life people, kind of like what Who Framed Roger Rabbit did. And I remember as a kid, I saw the poster for Cool World, and I thought it was the coolest, no pun intended, I thought it was the neatest thing ever, because the art style was gothic and creepy and weird, but there was like a cartoon element. As a kid, I was like, what is this? This looks great. I watched the movie later on as an adult, and it's really bad. It's really bad. It's like almost comically bad, but not for the reasons that you think it is. You need to watch Nostalgia Critic's review of Cool World if you've not seen it. I'm going to plug that today because it's worth the watch. It's so interesting. But for the production reasons behind that whole movie. But in that movie, the way that the art style changes and morphs and gets weird and goes into like Toontown, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit does, that is X's powers. That's what I'm saying. X becomes Cool World and Who Framed Roger Rabbit's Toontown for like a hot second. It's actually amazing. Like, this man's just standing here aura farming. And he's like, you almost got to blown to bits. Well, definitely, the Clark Kent becomes Superman. I freaking love it. And he's like, why are you here? And they're like, look, it's X. It's X. I actually saw him with my own eyes. And then he says, working overtime in the middle of the night. Like, when do you work, sir? I thought you were elusive. When have you been working? I want those questions answered. Like, okay, question, when has X been working? If it's been the whole time behind the scenes, I'm going to, like, freak out. So we'll find that out maybe in the next 2 episodes. I don't know. But he snaps his fingers as Nice is coming to get him, and then it becomes a whole nother world. Like, he is bending the laws of time and space, eats, like, a piece of candy, and, like, warps. He becomes, like, if you've seen Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, becomes Alucard's, like, warped hallucination for a hot second. He's flying on the cans of X soda. What is happening? I am so baffled. This man has so much swagger, it is unreal. It's not fair to have this much aura. It's not possible. Yeah, and then he, like, that is an amazing shot. I actually freaking love that shot. Okay, that one's my favorite shot of the whole thing. And then shows up. Why does he have these abilities? How does he have these abilities? Where did they come from? Don't know. Don't know yet. It's like crazy. And what's crazier is, how do you fold him up like a piece of paper? How does that work? Like, he becomes 2D animated as well, and Nice is like, okay, that was weird. And then how do you fold up a man into a piece of paper and throw him into the river? You tell me. He's also like, boo, bitch, you just killed my could-be boyfriend. So, nope. Yeah, and when he goes to punch him, he, like, stops time, grabs him like he's CGI, and then folds him up into a piece of paper, into a ball. And Nice is like, how did we change animation styles? What just happened? What is this? And he's like, you're really noisy. And then he just tosses him into the water, and then it becomes 2D again. The fudge. What? That's crazy. I need more explanations. I need answers. But yeah, how did Dragon Boy end up in the river? As expected of X, he is a god. That's the face of a man that just realized that you're not going to get to where that is. Because you don't have the ability to bend time and space. And the thing of it is, whenever all this stuff happens of him warping realities and going in between these dimensions, nobody sees it except us, the audience, seemingly. Because they're like, well, that makes sense now why Boa and Queen and them didn't know what happened. He was just, done. I just did it off screen. You didn't even see it. What? That is insane. I feel bad for Dragon Boy there because I think he just realized how out of his league he was. And then this scene. Look, show. I said I was going to save my shipper goggles for the end of the episode for the discussion. They could have had it all. They could have had something. It could have happened. And the fact that he dies, like that look there, I'm sorry. Yep, sure, they're just best friends. History will say they're best friends. But him dying with the smile on his face, that, did he have the will of D? He probably did. But this moment here, like to see Nice actually break down, and despite his perfection, like to see Nice actually break down and cry despite his perfection is absolutely like X is over here mourning the loss of his friend, and Nice is mourning the loss of his like idol, and And that's when he goes to get the locket that was the daughter's. And that shot there, that is a shot of a man who's like, don't worry, bro. I'll avenge you. Ugh. Damn it. And then, yeah, this shot, nice. If you told me why he took his life, I would understand now. It's not fun here. It's not fun here. Not one bit. No, not one bit. And then, like, while he's sobbing, X is like, well, my work here is done. Sucks to my friend. The last smile. Because it was the last smile he ever gave. And then Rock, meanwhile, has been eating freaking popcorn. I'm like, does Mr. Shang also have a Wi-Fi connection to where they're at, so he's watching too? Or is it just Rock? But this is what gets me, okay? This is what gets me. Rock is like, I feel like you could edit this and put the rainbows and the question marks all around. He's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did they? Were they? Like, when he does the squint, he's like, are they? Were they friends? He's like, so that's how it, the energy of his so that's how it is the same energy as the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off that's watching Sloane and Ferris drive away, and he's like, so that's how it is in their family. That's the same energy. I'm just saying, though. I'm just saying. If Rock's like, so they had a thing, I'm like, you would know, sir. You would know. He's like, with that, I've caught you now. Here's the thing. Like I said, if they can't see the powers that he has, and Rock's like, oh, I'm going to use your relationship with Smile to find out who you are and track you down. So what? He's literally got powers of a deity. And he can bend time and space continuum. What are you going to do, Rock? What are you going to do? So, oh my God, this episode was wild. This episode was wild. And we only have 2 left of this season. We have 2 left of this season, and then we're going to have a video after that of literally lots of things. So, lots of things. So trust and believe. It's coming. It's coming. So, oh my God. I'm not ready for the penultimate episode of this series. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all. You all have no idea. So it's going to be a fun time. I'm excited for your comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. I hope I was a little more on point this week than I was last week. I'm sorry. But now that we've met X, the Aura Farmer extravaganza, I'm ready to see what's going to happen next week. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week yourself. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll be back next week with episode 23 of To Be Hero X, and I'll see you then. Bye!